Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the sessions. So one of the things that we've been doing recently is trying to do a little bit of a wrap-up when we've had some really special guests on or touched on some really interesting topics. And I mean, I feel like I have a lot of really wonderful people who have really different perspectives on the way that they see life because of their life experiences. And the one thing, though, that we all have in common is a common love of Jesus Christ and a desire to grow in our relationship with the Lord and our desire to help you grow in your relationship and in your walk with the Lord. So we've just spent a couple of weeks with an amazing guest by the name of Amisho Baraka. A lot of you around the world know him as Sho Baraka. He's a Christian rap artist who started with Lecrae and Tadashi and 116 Click and like some really awesome Christian rap young guys who really have had a lot of positive things to say and had a big impact on my son and his friends when they were like, you know, teenage basketball players in college getting rocked for Jesus, but transitioning out of the secular rap music that they used to listen to, which used to make my ears bleed. And through prayer, they then found these guys who were Christian rappers who were rapping about Jesus. And I'm so grateful for that because those guys, that group of rappers, those young men who love the Lord were able to take their creative gift and use it to reach a whole culture of young men who liked rap, but they wanted to listen to something deeper because they'd fallen in love with someone deeper. So we're going to be joined today by, well, my longtime regular guest and life partner, my husband, Roger Charles, who's a real theologian and scholar and lover of the Word. That's his profession in Christ. His profession in the world is that he builds really big things all over the world. And then Christina Reynolds, who you've all gotten to know, and I've gotten some great feedback about Christina and the job she's doing on the show, just being here and blessing us with her presence and her perspective as a young millennial married woman who's a talented singer-songwriter. And some of you know Christina from the International House of Prayer, Mike Bickle's ministry, where we all have kind of a special love and affinity for. And then joining us today also, because she's been in the studio watching us film recently, is my daughter. Some of you hear me talk about my daughter, Hannah. This is my daughter. She's more than my daughter in Christ. She's my gift that God gave me and my husband, and we just love her to pieces. And so that would be Hannah Fritsch. Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's good. It's great when you're an American girl and you sound like me to have a daughter who says things like, "Thank you, Mama." So you guys, one of the things that Amisho spoke about was really just this whole concept of kingdom culture. And I know we were really vibrating on what he said. You know, and he said the church has been silent, but how can we be present? So who wants to take the lead on that one? Christina, what did you, I know that really struck you.
I was really amening him the whole time because I was like, yes, someone needs to talk about this. I think being a Chinese-American woman, growing up in the Bay Area, California, where it's super diverse, but yet church was always a white person thing. And I felt like I never fit in, you know? And then when I did end up getting saved and serving and leading at the International House of Prayer, that was in the beginning when it wasn't as diverse. It's super diverse now. I thought that I had to look and act and sing and lead and worship and pray like the person next to me because I didn't know anything else. So when he talked about kingdom culture and not white culture or black culture or imposing Chinese culture on you, like I'm not going serve me, right, but that all inclusiveness of the family of God, I was really struck. Yeah. Because I have a lot of friends who are from different countries and who have felt that same box or confusion or haven't felt the freedom to be a Christian the way God created them to be.
Well, it's what he said was so amazing when he said we share our Jesus, but we don't have to make people, you know, like live our culture. You know, and that was so deep to me because it's like, oh, it's true. I have some friends they love the Lord, but they like Mexican food, or they love the Lord, but they like Japanese food. I don't try to make them eat something different or change their food diet just to suit me. And I think, you know, Roger, do you think that because the church, and you know, I say a lot of times, as goes America, so goes the world, especially in terms of Christianity. So do you think that in the Western church, especially out of America, that there have been so many leaders that are white males that in some way, without even meaning to, we've excluded other races and cultures and voices?
So this is a difficult subject only because there's also a little bit of this on God. And don't take me wrong, but when you see a T.D. Jakes lifted up or somebody like that, and it's obvious that he's gifted.
Obvious.
Okay, when it's super obvious, this is a man that's incredibly gifted by God, you know, to preach the word, and he gets lifted up, no problem.
Right.
It really isn't more like the leaders, I don't think. Because there's been so many, you know, that have been lifted up. And I don't mean to belittle anything, but basically, probably the top leaders, there's probably just like the percentage of diversity in the United States gets lifted up. So the United States isn't quite as diverse as everybody thinks it is. It's 75% white.
Right.
It's only like 15% black. So are 15% of the great leaders in the United States, you know, Bishop Blake and some of these like real heroes of the faith, did they get lifted up? Yeah, of course. So
it's just the percentage of leaders of other races who are lifted up directly parallels the percentage of that people group within the bigger picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
The question
makes sense.
You know, the question isn't so much I mean, look, you know, things will be right in the States when, you know, 15% of the presidents have been black.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. But when you look at the church, really the percentages aren't all that off. I think the bigger problem is it's not the very top leaders in the church. It's the ones sort of beneath that. And are they getting the support they should get?
Right.
Are they getting the notoriety that they should have? And you know, his point of seeing other people supporting the people in his neighborhood that weren't Christian and the Christians sort of sitting in church, I think that was the bigger lesson.
Yeah.
The church not supporting the community.
Right.
And is the church supporting the community or is the church supporting itself?
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of churches struggle to support themselves, but when everybody sees them supporting themselves is when they don't want to give. Right. Nobody wants to give to a church building.
Yeah.
They want to give to a cause.
Well,
and if that church isn't affecting cause in the planet, then why do I want to give anything to it?
Right. Most people give because they're in relationship with.
Yeah.
And so in order to be in relationship with, we, as the body of Christ, have to get in relationship with everybody. And that reaches outside of the church. Yeah. You know, I love one of the things that he said about, because it was so true, and it really kind of affirms what you're saying, honey. If you have no seat at the table, make your own table. And I think, honestly, a lot of us spend too much time worried about what that isn't, rather than focusing on what we are and what we're supposed to contribute to that. Like, we're gonna build our own thing, it's gonna work next to that, and whoa, isn't that gonna be cool? So how important is it for us to make our own seat at the table? You know, look, I have conversations with you about this, I know, just in finding your own creative expression. You're an incredibly creative person. You, in so many ways, Hannah, you write, you act, you model, you do all of these things, and God uses you in these different arenas because of your boldness and because of your personality. So we've had a lot of conversations, I think identity conversations, where you really have, I think, come to realize that what he said was really true. You have to make your own table.
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't grow up in the church at all. And it's interesting to what you said, Christina, about, you know, you were looking at worship leaders and being like, well, I have to sing like them. And actually that mirrors what the world is, surely then. You know, that mirror, like if you're called to be a people set apart, then, and obviously I'm not disregarding individual, God works on us individually to get us there. Because we all have our own battles and our own, whatever kind of filters into that to make us believe those lies about ourselves and who we are and who we come from and why. And so, yeah, in terms of making my own seat at the table, or anyone making their own seat at the table.
Or making their own table.
Or making their own table.
Yeah.
Completely. I mean, this is the thing that the Lord actually posed to me last summer. He was like, why do you want to be anyone else? You'll never be them. Like, no, you can do infinite things to yourself. You keep trying. You will never be them.
Yeah.
So quit while you're ahead and start being who I made you to be.
You know, it's actually, it's so true. I think a lot of, it's interesting. I always went to schools where we were usually the only family of color. And if you focus too long on your differences, you actually never really get to your strengths. And like, there's nothing about the way I grew up that I would trade today, because I realized that it's a real blessing to be the different one in a group. You know, it's okay to be the odd one. It's okay to be the one that's kind of coming in with a different way of seeing things or a different life perspective. But I do think that it's easier for me to say that now at my age. We're looking at, you know, what, 20 years apart, 30 years apart, right? So when I was 21 or 22, when I was 31, 32, it's hard to be confident in who you are in this world that we live in, man. Like, the world is shooting you guys social media images all day long, telling you, you know, this is what you need to be, this is who you are. And so then when you go to church, and if you're kind of getting it like there, you're seeing this mirror of all these differences, I understand why I mean, you guys are fortunate, you know the Lord, you're grounded. What about all the young people out there who don't know how to break down, you know, the dividing walls that they perceive in front of them?
Yeah, I think that comes down to us who do have the Lord and have that relationship to break through so that we can represent that, you know what I mean? And I think that's why it's so disheartening when it's like, oh, we're supposed to be walking in freedom, but we're coming under the same, you know, the same attack as what people in the world who don't know Jesus, which, that to me. But what I really liked that show said was, he said getting out of his comfort zone, getting outside of his bubble really made him appreciate and go, I'm nobody, I know nothing, there's so much to the world. And as he discovered more about different people, he grew to love the differences. He grew and matured himself. So I think that's huge, getting outside of what I know.
You know something, it's so true. I was always the kid in my family that wanted to travel. From the time I was like 13 or 14, that's all I dreamed about. I want to go to Europe, I want to go here. Mommy, can I go study over there? Mommy, can I do this? Mommy, I'm the oldest of 6 kids. Behind me are 2 half siblings. In front of me is one older half brother who we really don't talk about because he was my abuser. I've forgiven him, but that's the reality, right? You know, none of my other siblings had the desire to travel the way that I did, but I wanted to go and see other cultures. So do we just need to be more curious about each other?
No doubt. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
And by the way, you don't have to travel the world to even do that.
Totally.
No. Right.
No.
Like how, you know, for a long time, and when you have the time to do this, and when you're a man, you can go hang out with the homeless.
Right.
You know, and when you do, you know, you see everything. You see charlatans, you see people that are going to do anything to stay on drugs, but you also see people that are in real, true situations where they're doing the best they can. And I never forget this one guy, Dennis, that I used to take to church all the time. And you know, with homeless people, you just don't know that they're telling the truth until you do. And so, but he was going to church with me, and that's great. I'd pick him up off the side of the freeway where he lived. And and then one day he said, hey, I finally got the government housing. And I said, how come your wife never comes? And he said, well, a guy shot her in the face and basically blew her jaw off. And my heart's just like, what? And is this real? And when I took him home, I saw her in the house, and it was true. And it's like, you don't realize that this guy's living to try and help his wife with surgeries and all these kind of things. Wow. And you don't understand the situation he's in. There was another guy who washed my windshield one day, and he lived off the side of the freeway. I took him home after buying him some groceries to hang out with him. And he had a stack of college books, and he was putting himself through college by washing people's windshields. You don't ever know until you hang out. And I learned so much just from those two guys. Yeah. Just from those two guys, let alone the other people. But so much from those. Yes, you're going to have the people that are doing every other thing, but 1 out of 10 are going to be like these guys.
Well, what's amazing, really, the lesson from this is that love is a big part of curiosity. Mm-hmm. When you love people, you're curious about people.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. I've always said that the reason why I always wanted to sit down and interview people is I have had a curiosity about people since I was a child, and you have to love people to have that. You know, I mean, imagine, like, I'm gonna sit down and talk to you about something and I don't like you.
Totally.
I mean, I don't even want anybody. I don't want to sit down and talk to someone that I don't like, because it's not even going to bless anybody. And so I naturally have more of an ability to just like people and then find what's interesting about people. And so, so we need to be more curious. I mean, for anybody watching.
With wisdom.
Yes.
With wisdom.
Of course, with wisdom.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, with wisdom. But with wisdom, also, one of the things that Misha Baraka said that I thought was really incredible is we have to not be afraid to navigate non-Christian spaces.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that.
We are in the world, but we are not of the world.
Yeah.
But we are in the world, but we are not of the world. Like, it's literally, it's this thing. And if we aren't the light that shines in the darkness, who is?
Right.
I mean, if we only talk to each other, we're kind of preaching to the choir. And I don't know, I think that's a really important lesson for everybody out there, because there are some people waiting, I think, to be in an all-Christian work environment before they're happy. Or they're waiting for all their friends to get saved before they're happy. No, be the light of Christ where you are, because you may be the person that's going to save your work environment or going to make sure all of your friends get saved. Right?
Yeah.
One of the other things that Show Baraka said that I thought was good was, this was like kind of my head emoji went, bah. When you make sin cheap, you make grace cheap. So us not being real about what God delivered us from.
Well, it's funny because if you think about it, anytime anyone's going through, even if you're kind of battling with God, like you're going through it and you're not just saying it really and truly how it is to him, like what's going on inside of you. Or when you don't actually forgive someone for the genuine way you felt, regardless of whether it's right or wrong, right? But you don't want to say it because if you say it, then I'm a bad Christian. And it's like, what?
Like God doesn't know what's there.
It's like, are you joking? And the irony of that is, if I look at my past, right, and I'm like, yeah, number one, you don't know, it's like you're not seeing it all fully anyway. Number two, you see me, if I think that's bad, and it's not even a comparison thing, but, to say it really and truly how it is, if you're not communicating what you mean, then what you're saying is not it's not going to take any roots.
It's not effective.
It's not effective. It has, you're just sending a vehicle in with nothing.
Well, that's why I'm so transparent about my own testimony. I mean, because the Bible says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And that's not just like us sitting here throwing carelessly out the details of our stories. I mean, you all know what a cesspool looks like. You don't need to smell it, you know what I mean? But it's but I do need to tell you, I walked through some seasons of life where it was just a virtual cesspool and everything stunk, and the people I was around, God had to change a lot of things about me. I got to keep that real, because then you really understand how big His grace is when you know. I know your personal testimony. You know what I mean? I know the calling on your life. The reason why I think the calling on your life is so incredible is because I know the incredible grace that God has poured out over you, and you as well.
And the beauty of that is that having got saved, and then you think, you know, you have like a, oh wow, like a eureka moment with God. Where and it's not a eureka moment to Him, because He's like, yeah, I've known this whole time. But you're still the little girl that you are, and you're like, oh wow. And then you hit a brick wall again, and you're like, what? What are you doing? You know, and it's like, it's real. Like, it's not just like this, oh, there's rainbows and butterflies. Like, no, it's a real relationship. And there is growing pains, and there is tears, and there is sometimes like punching your fist against the pillows. And sometimes there's, I'm not going to say anything because I think that I should be better than this. And so I'm now making myself the God of my own life, and then I have to be brought all the way back down, you know, and it's just this consistent, like, roller coaster ride, but it's fun.
Until you're all the way dead.
Yeah, until you're all the way dead. But the beauty that I've really learned is to enjoy it. You know, it's like, even in Ecclesiastes, it's like, what is work about? Is it not all vain? Is it not all vain in the first place? So enjoy it with me. Do it unto me and enjoy it.
That's really good.
Yeah, that is really good.
And
it's so true, because we can get so absorbed in a thing and make it mean, or make it as if it's so much bigger than it really is. And really, with God, He's just on a journey with us as a kid. And this is all just temporary anyway, you know? You look like you have something you want to say, Raj. I could see it in your eyes.
Well, I think the easiest thing to do is just to look at the life of Jesus Christ and see what He did and how He did it. And, Jesus wasn't a lone ranger. He had His whole support staff. He had a group of women that were there supporting Him the whole time. He had a group of men that were supporting Him the whole time. He had every type of person supporting Him. He had, in fact, the most extreme ends of society supported Him. He had a zealot, Simon the Zealot. Well, zealots were those who wanted to throw Rome out and fight against Him, start a war. On the other side, he had Matthew the tax collector, who worked for Rome. So you literally had two guys that hated each other, like wanted to kill each other, in the same group, who once Jesus showed up, obviously worked together. And that's the value of Jesus in society. You can have the most diverse, the most radical fringe groups. In fact, Hannah and I were just reading a story about two gangs that some of their members got baptized in jail all at the same time, who both had a vow to kill each other were they to meet the other gang member. Also, if they didn't kill the other gang member, their own gang would kill them.
Wow.
So these guys got baptized in jail at the risk of their own lives. And that's what Jesus does. He does that. And they said, we're coming up new men. And that's what Jesus does in society. But you can't do, you need to do it like Jesus, but you need it with the support system.
Yeah, no, that's really
You
good.
can't be the Lone Ranger out there.
No, I totally agree with you. I do constantly want to challenge, though, all of us, and this is something maybe for everyone watching also. It's like, how can you really and truly shake up your comfort zone so that you become more curious about others, so that you love others? Like, it's almost like we have to be intentional about it, I think, in the world that we live in. And shouldn't we be the most intentional in the church?
Yes, because you're in relationship with Him.
Right.
And you want to do what Jesus did. It isn't about having fun with homeless people or anything like that. It's about, Jesus, what will you do? And I think Jonathan, the friend of David, when he takes his armor bearer and he goes against the whole army and he says, does God need an army? He can deliver the whole army into our hands. And that's the kind of faith that goes, let's see what God may do.
Well, we talked a lot with Amisho about categorizations in boxes, and that's really where we started here. We're a kingdom culture. We're not this you know, we're not genres of music. We're not. You know, we have Christian rock, we have Christian rap. I mean, Christians turned me on to Christian EDM. Like, and I don't really like EDM music, Christian or non-Christian. I mean, so, you know, but I mean, there's all this stuff. Well, I love country music because all country music is really Christian music to me. I mean, they're telling their stories, and usually Jesus is going to come in there somewhere. But what can we do to actually not put people in boxes? How can we live in kingdom culture and not our kingdom lane on the freeway?
What Sho said was so important, where he was talking about in the past missionaries had changed culture, thinking that was Christian. And instead, what you want to do is bring Jesus. Whatever about their culture that might be wrong, he will naturally change. I knew these 3 women that were missionaries. They went to this area of Borneo where nobody wore any clothes. But they wore clothes. And as people got saved, they started putting on clothes. Not because they told them to, and they didn't put on their type of clothes.
Right.
They just started doing it. And it just happens naturally. You don't have to run around saying anything to them about their culture. And they will naturally use the good parts of their culture, like rhythm and dancing and all of that, for the Lord when they get their heart towards the Lord. So it's about him.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, but it's also about us. It's also about us remembering that God made you to sit at a piano and express your relationship with him and teach me in a completely different way than he made me. I can't sit at the piano and minister. I wish that I could, but I can't. So I honor and I respect that. You know, I couldn't do it through dance or tribal drums, but I can do this, you know, and it's almost, it's actually kind of, you know, it's silly that everybody thinks that they can do this or everybody thinks that they can do that. I can't do what you do. The way that you teach is different than the way that I teach. You know, the way that you do what, well, I was going to say it's very different than me, but I don't know. I think the 2 of us were cut out of the same cloth on some days. It's almost
true.
Yeah,
it's so true.
It's true. I know, it's true. We're out of time, so we'll just leave you with, it's true. But you guys, I hope you enjoy these little wrap-ups. And we want to hear from you, actually, when you see these shows. I love when I get comments and feedback so that we can, look, this is your show. This is your platform, in all honesty. I mean, God is allowing me to drive for the season as long as it's profitable to all of you. So I want all of you to continue to walk out your faith and to grow and to become stronger. And I want to hear what you think. I want to hear the things that you want to think about. I want to hear the things that you want to talk about. I want to hear the lessons that you want to learn. And I want us to prayerfully love each other all the way into the kingdom. I'm Cynthia Garrett. Thanks for being a part of the sessions, and I will see you next week. Hi, everyone. It's me, Cynthia Garrett. I hope you're enjoying the sessions. And I just wanted to encourage you to pick up a copy of Prodigal Daughter, A Journey Home to Identity. It's my testimony. And you know, I always say that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. Our testimonies are our story of what God has done in our life. So I hope that you'll share this journey with me through my book and through the many lessons that God taught me through sexual abuse, rape, cancer, being a single mom, and dealing with all kinds of issues just like every one of you has dealt with. Prodigal Daughter. I hope you'll pick up your copy today.